the worrying part is this story was broken by the FT originally back in February 19. The regulator, peculiarly, instead of basically going after a big investigation into Wirecard, actually slapped a short-selling ban on the company, which doesn't say much for the regulator. We then have, obviously, the auditors looking into the balance sheet and now claiming that it was very sophisticated and would have been very difficult to find. I think the problem here, for me, is there's too many regulatory failures in Germany. I've been around in markets since 1985, and even back in 1985, we were talking about the Herstatt banking scandal. We had the Volkswagen foreign exchange scandal in '87, and then Volkswagen emission scandal. There's a general problem with regulation in Germany. For a country with a reputation for efficiency, the regulatory side is not good. And I think the really other worrying part here is Europe doesn't really have a lot of fintech or tech champions, certainly not to match the US or Asia. And so as much as I don't want to tar the whole of the sector with the same brush, these sort of things are very much exceptions rather than the rule. It nevertheless doesn't exactly speak volumes of good things for the German fintech sector or more broadly Europe.
So essentially you're saying that the regulators are largely to blame for this?
Well, I think regulators and auditors. How come this wasn't uncovered? It's the length of time that this has been, for want of a better word, festering. That is particularly worrying, when one thinks that, as Annette was just saying, it's a DAX member, and it's still a DAX member. It didn't even fall out of the index when the scandal first broke. It just doesn't look good at all, and that is the biggest concern. And I think the other people who obviously don't look particularly clever in this, again, after WeWork, are SoftBank.
Marc, to where do you point the finger of blame? Because you mentioned the issue was with the auditors first. Let's name names. KPMG was involved in an audit. EY has also been involved in audits over the years at Wirecard. And then you mentioned BaFin as well. This is the toothless tiger in Germany that essentially had oversight of Wirecard. And when allegations of irregularities in the books started to emerge, instead of going over to investigate Wirecard, it targeted investors for short selling the stock. And then, of course, you've got the Financial Reporting Enforcement Panel, who were also meant to have some oversight here and essentially didn't. So this is a failure by Wirecard, but it's also a failure of supervision. So who ultimately will have the finger of blame pointed towards them, in your opinion?
I think it is going to be collective, but I think above all the regulators and the auditor, the auditing industry. There wasn't just one auditing company involved here. And this is a broader problem. I think my big worry actually is at the moment with so many people charging, so many retailers, investors charging into fintech naturally and into the tech sector at the moment, and likely to continue to do so. I don't think this is going to end that. You really need far better supervision. It speaks volumes about Germany's very ponderous system of doing anything at a government level, whether it's, you only have to look at what they're saying about the amount of money which is being wasted on climate change in Germany, or rather the Energiewende. There is a very ponderous system there which doesn't function, and this is something which really needs to be addressed, both from a standpoint of Germany as Finanzplatz Deutschland, as they like to call it, the financial center of Germany, and more broadly, in terms of Europe as a whole, to attract investment as we go forward. Otherwise, in a rapidly changing world post-COVID-19, Europe's going to find itself being very much left behind.